Hi, this is Dave with EdgeStar Technical Support. Today we're going to be doing advanced repair on the KF430 portable fridge freezer. I'll show you the inside of the unit and how to replace components, and we'll get into some advanced repairs. Alright, as you can see, I've removed our main access panel and of course our temperature knob to access the inside of the unit. So let's talk about our panel here real quick. So the panel has 3 screws that hold it in place, and after we get those 3 screws out, we've got to pry that temperature knob off of the panel to get it out. Now the back of this knob here has a D-shaped shaft, so it should index properly when you put it back on because it's going to match the shaft here. So let's talk about our panel. And the panel itself is a little difficult to remove. It's at the bottom here, and you'll see that there's 3 or 4 little slots here. And what happens is that once this is in there, you have to finagle this to get it out. It's not exactly really easy. I like to tilt the unit up on its side, and then I can kind of push these tabs out from the bottom, and that keeps this panel from getting tweaked, which once it gets tweaked, it doesn't look very good and it never fits right either. So just make sure that you are just gentle about how you work it out of there and how you work it back in. So now that we've got that panel off, let's talk about our thermostat and the rest of our components inside. So when you do this, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do some troubleshooting here. I'm going to talk about that and some of the failure modes, and then we'll talk about each component. I'm not actually pulling these components out. We have another video on the EdgeStar website for the FP series coolers, which that shows that in depth, in detail, how those parts come out. So this one's going to be more of a show and tell, but we'll talk about failure modes and all of that. So to begin with, let's talk about our thermostat. I'll just start at the top and work my way down to the bottom. The thermostat on this one is a conventional mechanical thermostat. It has a sensor tube that goes up, over, and then it goes up inside the unit. If you have trouble with your thermostat, if we determine that your temperature thermostat is bad, or you're able to have your servicer determine that it's bad, what's going to happen is it needs to be replaced. You've got some electrical connections here on the side that need to be unplugged, and those are male and female spades. No big deal, you just pull those off. But here, there's no screws, we have rivets. So you're going to have to take a drill and drill through the heads of these rivets, knock the heads loose, and then go in there with a punch and a hammer and go in there and tap out what's left of the rivet, and then you can get this out of there. When you go to put this back in there, you're going to get some short bolts and nuts and lock washers and reassemble it using those nuts so that you can secure it back into this panel. The panel itself will actually stay on here, but you're dropping the thermostat out. So the thermostat has 2 little ears over here that the rivets go through. So when you get this loose, you're going to come over here to this sensing bulb, and it's actually underneath. It's kind of hard to see, but it's there. If you feel it, it comes out the side of the thermostat, goes over, and then it goes up. There's a hole inside the cabinet where that thermostat goes up. Let me see if I can get you a view of that. And what you're going to do is you're going to have to kind of worm that out of there. That's not going to come out real easy. You're going to have to kind of finagle it out of the opening, and I'll show you that in a moment. See if I can tilt this up here. And as you can see, right up in here is where that line goes, and you're going to have to kind of work that line out of there. I'm going to go ahead and set this back down. And once you get that worked out of there, then you can feed the new one up, and you'll have to kind of work it and feed it up through there. Just make sure that when you feed it back up to the original hole that you don't crimp the line, because if you crimp it, that line's got gas in it, and if we crimp it, the gas can't flow, and the thermostat's not going to know what the temperature inside the cabinet is. I'll tell you right now that replacing that thermostat and getting that line out of there is not the easiest thing to do. It is difficult, but it can be done. It is doable. So let's talk about our other controls here. Over here on the edge we have our transformer, and this transformer converts AC to DC so that we can feed the rest of the system. And let's talk about a failure mode while we're at it. So our failure mode on the transformer would be that we don't have a fan, we don't have a compressor, the unit's not cooling. If we don't have either one of those, if we don't have either one of those, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to replace this transformer, it's all plug and play. So you're going to take a look at how it hooks in there, and it unbolts from the bottom. The other thing that you're going to want to check here also, before you get too far into the unit, you're going to want to check the back of your plugs here. That's accessed by these screws here at the bottom. There's 2 of them. And then you take those screws out, and this has a slot and a tang, and it just lifts out of there. And then you can tilt this back, and you can see your connections back there. You need to make sure they're secure. Check them for burns, anything like that that might indicate a problem. So back over here on the other side, and let me grab my screwdriver here real quick. And back here we have our DC compressor control, and it's this little box back here. That box provides starting voltage and running voltage to the compressor for proper operation. Failure mode on that. If we get a fan, but we don't get a compressor, we know that our DC control is probably bad. And we would replace that. And that just has a single screw that attaches itself to the compressor, and then there's a big white plug on the back side. I can't show you here, but it plugs directly into the compressor. And then of course we have our compressor, and we have our condensing fan. That fan, you should never have any problems out of it. I've never actually seen one really go bad. If it does go bad, it's going to make noise, it's going to rumble, or it'll jerk around. And at that point, what you're going to have to do is come over here. The wiring for the fan goes over to our DC compressor control. So you're going to follow the wires back and unplug them from the control, and then you'll come in here and you'll unbolt your fan from the coil here, and then take your fan out. On the FP series, it's a little bit different. The fan has a carrier bracket that the fan sits on, and then that carrier bracket bolts to the bottom of the unit. With this one here is a slight difference. This one bolts directly to the coil. So you'll have limited room to work in there. It is a tight spot, but it can be done. So that will come out. It just slides straight out this way. Let's talk about our compressor for a second. The compressor is usually 99 and 9/10 of the time absolutely trouble-free. I very seldom see any phone calls in customer service or tech support about the compressor itself. In fact, I can't remember the last time I heard one. But I will tell you that occasionally, sometimes the compressor will go bad. And a lot of times our typical failure mode is that the springs inside the compressor that hold the motor up, sometimes during transit we might get one that breaks. And if it does, the motor inside this shell will flop to one side, and then when it runs, it'll go bang, 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 bang against the casing and make a bunch of racket. At that point, the unit's probably going to come in for an exchange. If it happens to you outside of warranty, the compressor is going to have to be replaced. And that is a repair that's for a refrigeration technician. That's something that you as the consumer are not going to be able to do, because you're not going to have the equipment, you're not going to have the freon or the knowledge to replace it. So we would refer you to a qualified technician to have that replaced. The other thing that can go wrong with this compressor, which is even more rare than that, is that the compressor, over an extended amount of time, the valves in it has valves in it, little valve train, just like a car, exhaust valve, intake valve, things like that. They are subject to wear. The motor's subject to wear. Frankly, folks, after a period of years, it's going to wear out. That's a fact. If it does, what usually happens is that the compressor will run, but it doesn't really compress that vapor any longer, because we've got vapor, refrigerant vapor running through here. This doesn't compress liquid, it compresses vapor. And after years and years and years of use, if you're constant about it, what will happen is the little valves will wear out, and it won't be able to develop that compression to compress that liquid into a gas and get that freon to change states. So if it does, and you find the compressor's running, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong. It makes a good noise. It's quiet. It does what it's supposed to do, but it's just not cooling. You need to get a service provider to check the gas levels in it. If they're good and everything else looks like it's working okay, odds are they can tell by the pressures in the system that the compressor is just not outputting any longer, and at that point it's going to need to be replaced. Another thing I want to cover about the compressor, and we get this question a lot. There are different compressors out on the market today that do different things, and a lot of these portable fridges are very popular right now. They have been for a while. And ours uses a standard recip compressor, reciprocating compressor. It has a piston in it and valves in it, just like a little car engine. It's no different. There are other ones out there called a Danfoss. It's a magnetic compressor. It does the same job, but it does it in a different way. This does not have a Danfoss compressor, and I get that question a lot. This is a standard reciprocating compressor. There is no particular manufacturer on this. This is our own factory. They're sourced by our factory. They're not a brand name compressor. These are just an internally sourced one that we're able to provide. We looked for a long time for one that would be durable, reliable, and last a long time. And we found this, for us and for you, is the best choice for this unit. But there are ones out there. People ask us about the Danfoss. Those are used in other brands, and this one does not contain a Danfoss compressor. So we've done an overview of what's going on inside of here, possible failure modes, how to replace the thermostat, and that should be all that you need to really properly maintain this unit. And another thing we're going to talk about before I go here, I want to talk about our DC cord. Let me grab that DC cord here real quick. And I get a lot of comments about the DC cord because this one is used more often than any other. Now, I'll be honest with you, these cords are very durable. They do last a long time, and they seem to be a good choice for us. We like them a lot. They come in a couple of different lengths. I think there's a 10-foot length and a 6-foot length that we stock. Now, the fuse inside of here, there is a fuse in this cord, and it's right here. It's inside of here. You actually have to disassemble this plug. This top part screws off, and then this whole piece separates. The fuse in here, we do not carry it. I don't have it. Occasionally we'll find the fuse will blow for one reason or another. Now, what we do is we do actual item replacement. We don't do component level replacement, and the fuse is considered to be component level. So we don't do that. If you find that the fuse is blown inside this end here, if the fuse is blown, what you're going to need to do is, there's a lot of websites out there where you can get fuses. The one that I use is called AlliedElectronics.com, and I use that for all my fuse supplies. So I would recommend that you go there and view their selection. You're going to need to make sure that you get a measurement on your fuse in here. You're going to need to take a ruler and measure it because they're going to ask you for specific dimensions. But that's who we use for getting fuses. Again, we don't stock the fuses. If you need a fuse, what's going to happen if you call us up, we're going to sell you the whole cord. We don't have the fuses. I just want to kind of reiterate that because we get that call quite frequently where a customer has blown their fuse and they're looking for a fuse and they can't find one. That's when you're going to go to Allied Electronics and you can order it from there. Or if you want to, you can just order the whole cord. Speaking of one other thing about this cord, the way this plugs in, I've seen people accidentally crimp this cord. They'll step on it or they'll crimp it in such a way they'll have this up so far close up against an object that it crimps the end of this cord. And what happens is it breaks the conductors right in here. There is a strain relief that helps to take some of that pressure off, but it's not going to eliminate it. Do not push this unit up to the point where you're compressing this cord back. If you do that, you're going to break it in here and you're going to develop a short. That short could potentially blow the fuses in your vehicle, the fuse at the end of this cord, or damage something inside of here. So make sure that when you do this, that you have a certain amount of cord here before you make any bends on it, and that's going to eliminate that possibility. I hope that this do-it-yourself video has helped you to do an advanced repair on your KF430 cold front portable fridge freezer. If you have any questions or concerns, please contact EdgeStar at www.edgestar.com.